As a mangaka at Type Moon Chapter 231-240, 231, Night Battle. Multiple golden noble phantasms, like meteors, erupted directly, resounding through the night in Cairo. Intense thunderous roars and explosions. They were aimed directly at Arash, who was a kilometer away, and instantly razed that area to the ground. Not bad, mongrel. You actually dodged it. Gilgamesh withdrew his attack. The previous attack was just a casual probing. Before, he would have at most shot out 2 treasure spears or swords, but now it was different. Gilgamesh was screous now. This was evident in the fact that he released his wealth to its maximum. When facing a threat, unleash Enuma Elish, however. Isn't it all done by this king? The task of pursuing criminals is entrusted to you. Act diligently in carrying out this task as loyal subjects. Yes. Ambrose Conant appeared at some point and said, "Let us handle this matter." He then looked at Ishizaki Rito on the side. "Let your servant join in." "I understand." Ishizaki Rito gritted his teeth and, somewhat unwillingly, said, "But now the situation is beyond my control." His life was in the hands of these people from the Holy Church, and he had no choice but to obey their orders. Reluctantly, he continued, "Saber, go ahead." "I understand." The next moment Saber, Siegfried, along with several executors, charged directly towards Assassin, who had been injured by Gilgamesh's noble phantasm. "It has begun again." Kazuya, hearing the distant explosions, stood up. "The enemy has already attacked the gate. What should we do?" "My master," Alucard maintained a tone that carried a delightful smile, his mouth curling into a wicked grin, reflecting his inner thoughts. He anticipated the battle. He longed for death. "Go ahead." Kazuya issued the command, saying, "I permit you to die, but not now. At least not until I see all the servants. You are not easy to summon. How about fulfilling my wish a bit?" "Haha, as you wish. I am the Undying One. No one can kill me." With that, Alucard transformed into a shadow and disappeared. "Go, Alucard. Facing those 2 heroic spirits now is too much pressure, but if you devour the others, consume several more servants. You can win. In that way, you can win. Drag all the servants that can be defeated into the endless river of death." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Arrows shot toward Saber, who was chasing after Assassin, and the group of followers behind her. Amazing, humans can actually keep up with the speed of servants. Arash marveled while continuously shooting arrows from his bow. There was no need to kill anyone, delaying some time was enough. He was, after all, an archer. While he could handle close combat, it wasn't his specialty. Better to leave that to the servants on their side like their saber. Turn right at the upcoming intersection. Jump straight over. Assassin Hassan of Serenity listened to the information transmitted by her master and immediately turned to the right. On the other side, although the followers and Saber Siegfried managed to block the arrows shot from a distance, they were still slightly delayed. However, they quickly caught up. In the moment they charged forward suddenly, they stopped. "Oh, this is a dead end, you know." Another Saber raised the sword high, accumulating a large amount of magical energy on it, with a wicked grin on her face. Assassin had just jumped past her. "This is bad." Clarent Blood Arthur, Mordred, having accumulated enough magical power, immediately unicashed her noble phantasm. A surge of magical energy rushed toward everyone. Boom, this is how it is. Not bad for a saber from the Black faction. Can you withstand this situation? Arash exclaimed in surprise. In the nick of time, Siegfried also released his noble phantasm. Although, due to one being fully charged and the other hastily done, the difference in strength was clear, but even so, it managed to block for an instant. An instant was enough for the followers. Both Siegfried and the followers were beings beyond common sense, capable of evading even within this time frame. Bang! Bang! Arash's body suddenly leaned forward, dodging several bullets shot from behind. With his hand freed up, touching the ground for leverage, he swiftly swung into a stance. He aimed his bow and arrow at the servant who had appeared behind him in a red cloak. Crack! The long arrow pierced through the head, exploding it into a spray of blood. Haha, not bad. Truly a skilled archer from the Red faction. Are you the undying monster that Saber mentioned? Arash's expression turned serious as he spoke. His arrow had indeed pierced through her head, but it was only for an instant. Blood gushed from the wound and quickly reformed her head. In just about 3 seconds, her head, which had been pierced through, completely regenerated. With a bloodthirsty smile, the undying servant aimed his gun at the archer in front of him, pulled the trigger. Bang, 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 but they were all dodged. Arash's clairvoyance was at A rank, unable to see the complete future, but it could predict some things. Alucard's attacks had all been foreseen, but facing this situation, Alucard didn't feel distressed or angry. Instead, he burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, excellent. Just like that. Let me see. Are you a human? Or a pig? Dodge. Dodge. Dodge to your heart's content. Then, pierce my heart. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Splat, the arrows pierced his head, went through his chest, and broke his arm. But he didn't flinch. Alucard didn't dodge or evade, just kept pulling the trigger in his hand. At some point, Alucard had not only been shooting with one hand, but another black gun had appeared in his other hand. Although its firing speed couldn't match the white one's, its power was more than doubled. As was its precision. The white gun blocked Arash's evasion route, and then, at that moment, the black gun aimed for a fatal strike. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. 232. Command spell not good. A bloodstain was left on Arash's cheek. Being vigilant for too long leads to mistakes. Even for someone as nimble as him, it was inevitable to be attacked unexpectedly. In his lifetime, he was said to have never been wounded even on the battlefield and never fallen ill since birth. Legendary tales that were now being shattered. Even though it was just a small wound on his cheek, with little blood flowing, it was still a wound. Currently, it was just a small wound, but what about the next one? Next, the second, the third snap. On the contrary, Alucard was in a completely different situation. Covered in wounds. His arms had been broken countless times, his head pierced through numerous times, and his heart impaled more times than one could count. Yet he continued to attack. He laughed, arrogant and prideful, especially when injured. He seemed even more delighted. What's wrong? Stopped attacking? Tired? Is this all you've got? No, Arash, holding his bow and arrows, said. I'm just thinking, who are you? Alucard laughed. I am Lancer of the Black Faction in this Holy Grail War, real name Alucard. Lancer? Arash was stunned. What? Surprised? Yeah. Well, I didn't expect Lancer to use a gun. Is a gun considered a type of lance now? Strange. Arash chuckled like a child. Simultaneously, he released the arrows in his hand. The arrows instantly blasted Alucard's upper body into pieces. Blood covered the rooftop. In that case, is it effective? Although Saber had mentioned that even if she used her noble phantasm to evaporate Alucard, it wouldn't kill him, Arash still wanted to witness his revival process with his own eyes. At least, he wanted to witness it once. Bang! At that moment, Arash's face, staring at the remaining half of Alucard's body, changed. From beneath his feet, a severed arm appeared out of nowhere. Only an arm with a black gun still in hand. The trigger was pulled. A bullet shot out, catching Arash off guard. Blood splattered. Arash managed to block the strike just before it hit his body, but his arm was no longer usable. While the left arm was intact, the right arm had lost a large chunk of flesh and was rendered useless. Not to mention pulling a bowstring, he couldn't even move it. Let alone firing an arrow. Even so, a piece of flesh was cut off from his face. Haha, looks like it's over for now. Alucard laughed, emerging from the ground like a shadow. Unlike before, he was now dressed in a black straitjacket. No, I can still fight. Arash put away his bow, lifted his left hand, and smiled. I'm not the type who can't fight with just one hand. Well, it's the first time I've suffered injuries of this degree, though. Oh, haha, not bad. Come, I'm right here. The monster is right here. Attack me. Arash, hurry, hurry, hurry. Of course, no need for you to say. Saying that, Arash charged towards Alucard. In any case, he wanted to know the true nature of Alucard's resurrection, at least the true nature of his abilities. Chirp! Alucard clasped his hands, and the crimson rune on his gloves emitted light. Wail, and then die, Alucard said, rushing towards Arash, his arm like a spear stabbing at Arash. Bang! General! Arash! Thud, the sound of air being pierced. Alucard's pupils slightly contracted. In front of him, Arash disappeared. Is this a command spell? HMPH. Ha ha ha, so be it. This time, spare him. Spare his life this once. But the next time might not be so simple. This time, he relied on surprise to unexpectedly disable Archer's arm. Different from a swordsman can still swing a sword with one hand. But, for an archer, without one hand, how can he draw a bow? Of course. In reality, it was possible. Even if Arash lost one hand or even both, he could still draw a bow and shoot arrows. However, Alucard was on the opposite side, and even if he managed to shoot an arrow after much effort, what would be the use? It was useless, it couldn't kill him. Alucard once again put on his red coat and looked to the other side. That was the battle between Saber and Saber. However, an unexpected interruption had occurred. How are you, all right? Bartholomew Lorelei looked at the summoned Arash and said. Arash was summoned from the clone squad under her command. No, I'm saved. Arash shook his left hand and smiled. That guy is really a monster. No matter how you kill him, he won't die. Of course. It's difficult to kill him unless you do it millions of times. Huh? What? Do you know his identity? Alucard. Dracula. Unfortunately, it's like this. He's not in existence in this world. Rather, he's an illusion that shouldn't exist in the first place, Bartholomew Lorelei said. I only found out recently. Now, it will take some time for your injuries to heal. It's a good opportunity to check out the manga called Hellsing. He's a character from there. Manga. You mean a person from the story? Yes, that's right. Bartholomew Lorelei nodded and sat on the side with a short whip in her hand. Though, the character has a prototype Vlad III, the ruler of Wallachia. That's why he can be summoned. However, killing him is difficult. Difficult? Does that mean it's not impossible? Arash's eyes lit up. That's right, Heracles has a noble phantasm called the 12 Labors, which means you need to kill him 12 times to end his life. Similarly, Alucard's noble phantasm is equivalent to 1,000,000 trials. You need to kill him over 1,000,000 times to end his life, and when he starts to drink blood again, his life will increase once more. Arash was momentarily stunned, then he smiled. So that's it. No wonder, no matter how you attack him, he neither dodges nor defends. So, you need to kill him over 1,000,000 times, huh? It's really tough. Even if he stands there and lets me shoot, it might not work. However, there is another way. Bartholomew Lorelei said again. 233. The true judgment, yes. Or rather, this possibility is more likely in comparison, Bartholomew Lorelei said. Free his noble phantasm. In that case, the tens of thousands of souls he possesses will be released, and you can then kill Alucard when he is vulnerable during the activation of his attacking spell. Haha, still a bit difficult. Arash shook his head. By the way, that Lancer somehow knows my true name. He knows your true name? Yes, Arash nodded. I did hear him call my name. Don't worry about it. Just rest well. Bartholomew Lorelei frowned slightly and said. Anyone could withdraw from the battle, except Arash. Arash had to withdraw after Ozymandias. Because now, Arash himself was a weapon suppressing him. Although, in terms of strength, Arash couldn't compare to Ozymandias, but that pharaoh had grown up listening to Arash's stories. This was a card. In her hands, there were only two cards that could play a role at a crucial moment. One was Arash, and the other was the Berserker, the dragon that had allied with them. Crash boom. The noble phantasm struck without restraint. The executor, who claimed to be able to battle servants, couldn't intervene much in such a fight. Whether it was Mordred or Siegfried, the magical supply behind them was almost infinite. Blade-to-blade combat, noble phantasm clashes. The strength displayed by the two was evenly matched, and the buildings around them were like falling dominoes, continuously collapsing. One after another. This is a servant. Ambrose Conant took a deep breath. If it were a close-quarters battle, he could barely manage it. Yes, a close-quarters battle could barely be handled. But, with unrestrained magical energy release, coupled with the brilliance of noble phantasms, even he couldn't intervene, even if there were individuals among the buried mechanisms with such strength. Swish swish. The next moment, he threw several black keys. Then, as if disappearing into the void. A barrier? Is it the magus from that squad? Looking around, he suddenly jumped up and thrust two black keys into the ground. Two black dogs were impaled on the ground. Blood splattered. A familiar. The next moment, his expression changed slightly, his arm was raised in front of him. A magus rushed in directly, chanting some incantations in his mouth, and his body emitted a faint light. Oh, enhancement? Banged the priest's robe on Ambrose Conant's arm, as well as the flesh, split open, revealing the mechanical sacredization. The magus's face changed slightly, and the next moment, his body suddenly retreated, blood sprayed from the fist that swung over. On Ambrose Conant's arm, there was something rapidly rotating like a circular saw, leaving wounds on his hand. Bang bang bang. Just at this moment, gunshots rang out, and several bullets unexpectedly shot towards the two without warning. Lancer! Clang clang clang. Blocking the bullets, Ambrose Conant looked at the servant who seemed to fall like a free fall but left no trace on the ground, frowning. Wait, shouldn't we be on the side? Checkmate. Bang. Wait, both of you, hold on. Ha! Mordred tightened the sword in her hand, grinning. Who cares about you? Get out of the way. Did I ask you to wait, or are you deaf? Bang. The saint who ran here didn't have the staff in her hand. Instead, a pair of gauntlets appeared on her left hand. She suddenly threw a punch at Mordred's chin. Aura! Caught off guard, Mordred was directly sent flying. This should make you quiet enough to listen, right? Martha looked at the two, threw away the staff, and two gauntlets appeared in her hands. She pressed her fingers against her chest and said, If you don't listen, come over, let me teach you what mercy is. Damn it. On the other side, Siegfried stopped. After all, Martha was the ruler of this Holy Grail war. But, for this rebellious knight, this didn't matter at all. Damn it, who cares if you're a ruler? Die for me, Clarent Bloodarthur. Without hesitation. Since there was enough magical energy, there was no reason to save it. She directly unleashed her noble phantasm, Clarent Bloodarthur. Who cares if you're a ruler or whatever? Who knows what a ruler is? Indeed, the Holy Grail had given this part of the memory to every servant, but he didn't really pay attention. Okay, if that's the case. Martha laughed, happily and loudly. Indeed, she was the judge of this Holy Grail war. But, since she was human, there could be no absolute fairness, unless it was a true saint. Although Martha was called a saint, this was just the surface identity she hid. Aura! Martha's body swayed around, avoiding this noble phantasm. After all, there was no charging involved, and even if the magical energy was sufficient, a lot of preparation was needed to fully swing this strike. What's with the sword? Punching is a woman's romance. Aura aura. Saying that, Martha, who rushed to Mordred, clenched her fists and roared, just like the line she saw in an anime a while ago. Aura. Bang 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 like raindrops, the fists kept hitting Mordred. Martha was excitedly beating her. Yes, that's it, this is the feeling. Constantly hitting one after another, shouting, Aura, as if venting all the strength of her body. Really great, too comfortable. Siegfried looked at the scene in front of him. Looking at the gradually shattering armor of Mordred, already put down the sword in his hand quietly and began to retreat. I'm sorry, master. Is that person really a ruler, not a berserker or something? Ishizaki Rito, probably. Well. Looking at this side through Siegfried's field of vision, Ishizaki Rito thought for a moment and said, since the so-called ruler is a judge, shouldn't they have stronger power than everyone else? Otherwise, how can they be a judge? You're probably right. 234, The Undying King. What is judgment? The so-called judgment is to knock both sides down, then tell them what the rules are, and watch them continue their previous battle while eating popcorn and drinking cola with a bruised and swollen face. Martha was about to put this into practice. You should fight outside the city. Look at how chaotic you've made the city. And can't you be a bit quieter tonight? Is it amusing to delay me watching Jojo? Damn it. What does it have to do with me? Mordred, who was thrown to the side, rubbed her non-existent chest, as if she became more irritated. Are you okay, Saber? Her master, Kairi Sisagou, asked through the connection between master and servant. Do I look okay to you? Mordred wiped the blood from her mouth. It hurts? Kairi Sisagou laughed. Then that's fine. It means that ruler hasn't used her full strength, probably. She hasn't used her full strength? My armor is all broken. Seriously, is she a berserker from somewhere? Really rude. I am a ruler, not a berserker. Besides, if you were as obedient as the other saber over there, I wouldn't have attacked you at all, right? Sorry, see, you should learn from him. I actually quite like him, unlike you. Ruler nodded in satisfaction, but her expression showed that she wasn't fond of Siegfried, apparently. After all, there was no reason to punch such a humble man. And remember today's events, don't forget. Also fight freely. Go outside the city, at least don't disturb me watching Jojo. Hey, didn't you reveal something with that last sentence? What are you talking about? Martha turned her head back and said kindly, at the same time emitting the aura of a command spell. It was as if she was saying that if they continued like this, she would use a command spell to restrict her movements. Remember, Ruler had the authority to impose 2 command spells on every heroic spirit. Except for servants with X-rank magic resistance, it was impossible for them to win against Ruler in a direct confrontation. After the restrictions were imposed, Martha could easily turn her into a rag with her aura. Although she didn't say anything, Mordred somehow felt it. Well, I got it, right? Hey Saber of the Black, let's continue. The battle isn't over, is it? No, sorry, my master has ordered me to retreat. Besides, there won't be any meaningful conclusion if we continue like this. Is that so? But I don't think so. Bloodlust, a figure holding the heads of 2 magus, walked over from a distance, and the blood-red pupils emitted a gleam in the darkness. A cracked and grinning face showed undisguised killing intent towards the 3 servants in front. Black's Lancer, Saber Siegfried became alert all at once, judging the truck identity of the figure in front Alucard. Don't forget that the team sent by the Holy Church this time is called the Iscariot. How could they not know this vampire? How could they not know this Alucard? Tisk, it's you again. Mordred said displeased. What? Do you think you can defeat me? When I can. Click, click. Alucard grinned and raised the handgun in his hand. The firearm in his hand didn't need to be loaded anymore. Although it still fired 13mm silver bullets, they were all magically charged. In other words, as long as Kazuya's magical supply could keep up, he had infinite bullets. Bang! Although Kazuya could only use his 2 eyes to refine magical energy, these 2 eyes were advanced enough. Moreover, Kazuya had this powerful little source. This level of magical energy was simply too easy. Martha also became slightly serious. She had fought against Alucard before and knew very well what kind of monster this servant in front of her was. His strength alone was formidable, and on top of that, he couldn't be killed. A monster that couldn't be killed. Standing still and letting her hit was quite satisfying, but how could she be defeated if she couldn't be killed? A monster that attacked tirelessly, no matter how much blood was shed, always showing a terrifying smile. It was frightening. Even such a monster would be scared, feel terror and despair. How could such an existence be killed? Was there any clear way to kill him? Hey, Saber is about to run. Kairi Sisigu's voice suddenly sounded in Mordred's mind. Huh? Why? Ah. Lady has already found that guy's true identity. But you went out in a hurry and I didn't have time to tell you. That guy's true name is Alucard. Ah, I know. So what? His ability. Every person whose blood he drinks becomes his pawn, and, in addition, he consumes one of these pawns each time he doesn't die. Ha! Isn't that advantageous? Mordred laughed, the red lightning wrapping around her body. She rushed towards Alucard, and her large sword swung down at him. So, it means he can be killed if the number of times he's killed is enough, right? Then let me continue killing him. Well, that's true. But his pawns were over 1 million and he must be killed without piercing his heart once to count as killing him. What did you say? Mordred, who had just rushed to Alucard's side, froze. Silence. Just now, what did her master say? How many pawns does Alucard have? That's right, over 1 million. Click. Why did you stop? What's going on? Did your leg break? Can't run anymore? Or did you consume too much energy during the fight with that ruler? Alucard aimed the black handgun at Mordred and pulled the trigger abruptly. Ding! The bullet hit her sword, but it wasn't over. Bang, 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 bang. Bullets kept firing. Damn it! Mordred gritted her teeth. The next moment, a voice came from behind her. It was Ruler. What happened behind? roared Baskerville. The giant black dog swallowed Mordred whole. Hello everyone. I hope you're all always in good health. I just wanted to inform you that lately, I've been interested in working on a new project, and I hope you like it. If you do, I will expedite the progress of this project to catch up with the speed of my previous projects. That's it, thank you. Elenea, the ultimate antagonist, getting isekai'd to another world is indeed awesome, especially embarking on an adventure as a hero to defeat the Demon King, who turns out to be a woman, and making her part of your harem. It is truly the dream of millions of people hoping to be isekai'd to another world. If Reinhardt were to get isekai'd like that, he might smile for the rest of his life. However, fate has other plans for him, as he becomes the unfortunate isekai victim, landing in the rabbit hole known as the Moonlit World. With numerous psychopaths roaming around to fulfill their dreams, he must strive to defend his small life in this chaotic world, especially when the world is set to last only another decade. Fortunately, luck from 9 generations of his family comes to his aid in critical moments. Finally, he gets help to secure his small life. Ding! Has my help finally arrived? Congratulations, host. You have been chosen as the host of the antagonist simulator system? Finally, Fina. Wait, what do you mean by antagonist? Shouldn't it just be a simulator without an antagonist? As the name suggests, the antagonist simulator system is specifically designed for individuals with high aspirations to become antagonists, and you have been selected to be the ultimate antagonist. Congratulations, host. Huh? Ultimate antagonist? WTF? How does someone as gentle as me fit as the ultimate antagonist? Not so, host. You undoubtedly possess a strong motivation, clear plans, firm will, undisclosed secrets, outstanding execution, remarkable personality charm, and the determination to subvert the world. Undoubtedly, you are the perfect candidate for the ultimate antagonist. WTF? You were born as the son of the King Vortigern. You pulled out the sword from the stone but inserted it back, and the sword emitted a resounding mournful cry. You promoted agriculture, popularized education, abolished nobility. Knights scorned you as the ominous son of the disaster-bringing White Dragon. You sacrificed Vortigern, gathered the remaining flames of the remnant Age of Gods, and launched the final assault towards the inner sea of the planet. Your wife and daughter died at the hands of Ares. You set the Olympus temple ablaze. Oh, looks like my adventure won't be boring. 235. Fate, don't underestimate me. A roar echoed from the mouth of the black dog that had just swallowed Mordred. The red light tore through the entire giant dog. Ha! Ha! Mordred, once again unleashing her noble phantasm, gritted her teeth. Don't underestimate me, one by one. Ha 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 ha! Get angry, then enjoy it. Alucard, laughing, rushed towards Mordred. Then the next moment, his entire head was torn off. Oh, what are you suddenly rushing up for instead of watching quietly from the side? In an instant, Alucard, whose head was kicked off, once again grew a shattered head. He looked at the saint who had kicked off his head and said, "You go first, Saber." You, what do you mean? Mordred looked at Martha, puzzled. It's simple. Your injuries now are partly my responsibility since I'm neutral. If my intervention might lead to your premature defeat, I can't just stand by. She pointed her finger at Alucard and said, "Come on, I'll fight you." In the distance, Kairi Sisagu at the Cairo branch of the Mages Association sighed in relief, and the command spell on the back of his hand dimmed. He had been prepared to use a command spell. But now, he could save one. Not far away, Ambrose Conant, watching the battle here, looked at his missing arm with some regret. So, its ruler. Truly a holy maiden. Alucard's sudden attack just now also disrupted his battle with those magus. He escaped by sacrificing an arm and a leg. As for those magus, some ran away, 2 died at the hands of Alucard, and their blood was consumed by him. Now, they had become part of his undead army. Magus were really troublesome. Looking at the cut-off point of his mechanical arm and the laughing Alucard, he fell silent for a moment. The Iscariot. Alucard. Is this fate, or something else? The Iscariot in principle, they were a group with strong combat power but mentally unstable. They generally had low faith in God, and one of them, at most, would place a Bible on the bedside table while sleeping. But, the Iscariot was truly shocking to him, especially that Father Anderson. He would rather go to hell by suicide than let the enemies of God survive. How many people in this era of the church held such beliefs? So, he accepted Hans's proposal and named this organization, Iscariot. Not only because it sounded cool, but more. Hoping that these lawless people could recall the teachings of the Lord. Hoping that one day, true fanatics who would go to hell for the Lord's sake could reappear in this world. But now, Alucard appeared. Iscariot, Alucard. Is it the intersection of fate, or just a coincidence? In principle, they were both black faction servants, and the enemies were members of the Mages Association. But emotions would never be that simple. At least, Alucard wouldn't let emotions be so simple. That man. He was expecting his own end, but without using his noble phantasm, who could bring death to him? Gilgamesh? Or Ozymandias? No, none of them. But who could free his noble phantasm? Only his master behind him. But knowing his identity, his noble phantasm, although powerful, had a decisive power that many existences in this Holy Grail war also possessed. Using it also meant death. Unless that master didn't care about winning or losing this Holy Grail war. Otherwise, as long as there was a desire to obtain the Holy Grail, he would definitely not use it. Boom! The Saint's iron fist judged this undying monster. But there were places in this world that the Saint's fist could not reach. Alucard's death. Death resurrection, over and over again, without dodging. Just continuously firing his gun. A shot grazed the Saint's arm, a shot grazed the Saint's chest, a shot grazed the Saint's cheek. More and more bloodstains appeared on her body, and Alucard still didn't die. Couldn't Dick. No matter how he was killed, no matter how he was attacked, he couldn't be killed. The undying king just laughed, as if mocking everyone. The demon was there, the enemy of God was standing there. Not dodging, not avoiding, but couldn't be killed. In this world, there was nothing more helpless than this. Let Siegfried go help. Ambrose Conant gave orders to Ishizaki Rito through communication. The next moment Siegfried, who was on the side, also rushed up. Bang, 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 oh! Alucard looked at the approaching Siegfried and laughed, continuously pulling the trigger in his hand. Indeed, the evaluation of this gun was only C rank. But its power had already exceeded that. Every shot fired was like a heavy artillery shell, a weapon that had evolved into a noble phantasm, with even greater power than in the manga. Kai the bullet hit Siegfried's chest, leaving a shallow wound on his chest. The wound slightly turned red, and not a drop of blood came out. What is this? Ambrose Conant's face lit up, just like this. Alucard's attacks were ineffective against Siegfried. Kai the next moment Alucard abandoned the gun, strengthened his body, and suddenly thrust his arm towards Siegfried, creating a long, slender wound on his chest. Ha 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 ha. Licking the blood on his hand, Alucard laughed. This can cause harm, right? 236. Method. The battle had been raging for days on end. Lancer, saber, and ruler had been engaged in a relentless struggle since the break of dawn. The area around their battlefield had turned into a wasteland. If it weren't for the protective boundary that had been erected, the entire city would have discovered the ongoing battle long ago. Truly, monsters. Ishizaki Rito, panting heavily, observed the situation with widened eyes. Both saber and ruler were covered in blood. While the major wounds were few, the minor injuries formed a continuous pattern. Yet, strangely, there was not a drop of blood on the ground. Any blood that dripped onto the earth was quickly absorbed by Lancer, that Alucard. Just as Alucard swung his arm to recover the severed arm, a bloodstain was left on Siegfried's neck. Ha ha! Siegfried, breathing heavily, slowly stepped back, blood oozing from his wounds. They couldn't heal. Typically, such superficial wounds would have healed quickly, but in this case, they wouldn't heal. Blood continued to flow, a night of intense combat taking its toll. Even with an abundance of magical energy, Siegfried's spirit had already become considerably fatigued. After once again charging towards Alucard to pummel the saint, he tightened his grip on the sword in his hand. Comparatively, the saint had endured much less. Alucard's attacks left wounds on her, but unlike Siegfried, her injuries were not of the kind that wouldn't heal. In fact, fundamentally, they were the same. However, even if Martha wasn't particularly skilled, her fundamentals had still been ingrained. Alucard's energy attached to the wounds prevented them from healing, but Martha's purification could eliminate it. However, at this moment, she was unable to perform the purification on Siegfried. Proficient holy practitioners might be able to perform it while engaged in battle, but unfortunately, despite being a saint, Martha was subpar in everything except her fists. Thud. The next moment, Siegfried's expression changed. The saint's fist had been caught. What's wrong? Can't move. Saint, is that all you've got? Human? Alucard, repairing his body, laughed. Well then, it's over. What? Saint Martha, panting heavily, found her fist caught by Alucard. Alucard forcefully grabbed her arm, repairing the wound, and the blood whip securely bound her hand in place. Alucard aimed his black handgun at Martha's forehead, saying, "Checkmate, Saint." Bang! The next moment, without hesitation, Alucard pulled the trigger. Bang! The bullet grazed Martha's scalp and flew out. Martha's other hand sent Alucard's head flying. However, more and more blood whips appeared, binding Martha tightly. Ha! Siegfried's sword cut through the blood whips, saving Martha, and simultaneously activating his noble phantasm, Balmung. Boon! The brilliance of the noble phantasm unexpectedly weakened. Compared to before, it had dropped to a significantly lower level. Not due to insufficient magical energy, but too much blood had been shed, and too much strength had been consumed. Not bad. Not bad. Blood congealed. In the early morning dawn, the blood congealed into a humanoid form, the black mist slowly dispersing, revealing the smiling Undying. How many times did you kill me tonight? 10 times? 100 times? Or 1,000 times? Come on, swordsman. Come on, saint. Kill me a few million times, and you'll win. Another million? 2 million? Or 3 million? Why not give it a try? Despair. Even servants, heroic spirits in human history, couldn't help but feel some despair in the face of this situation. The so-called heroic spirits excelled in turning the impossible into possible, finding their own path from a 1 in 100, a 1 in 1,000, or a 1 in 10,000 chance. But their opponent was also a servant, and the Holy Grail War lasted only 7 days. How many times did they kill him yesterday? Neither Siegfried nor Martha remembered. They used to count at the beginning. However, in the face of such a vast number, the numbers became meaningless, whether it was once, twice, or 3 times. In the face of his enormous numerical advantage, it was unquestionable. And, once he began to suck blood again, the entire Cairo was his support. Cairo's population was 6 million. Even though it had decreased a bit recently, there were still over 5 million people. After all, home is where the heart is. If half of them were absorbed by Alucard, that would be over 2 million. Faced with such an existence, how could they find a way to kill him? This was what Siegfried and Martha were contemplating as they fought against Alucard. The magus and executors in the distance were considering. Even the 2 kings Gilgamesh and Ozymandias were considering. Although, even if they wanted to talk, they couldn't kill Alucard. But they were kings. How could they accept such a half-hearted victory? So, what methods could be used to kill this Undying? The answer existed. The answer was there. Another emperor was considering how to put an end to this Undying monster and his endless life. That evil emperor. It's truly enviable. Whether it's the dead apostle in this world or that vampire. Dio slowly closed the curtains in front of him, blocking out the rising sun. No doubt, that Undying monster is even more advanced than me, Dio. Especially that Alucard. Haha. That level of Undying is truly powerful. Even me, Dio, now has no way against that Undying. But, just for now. Tomorrow night. The power to end everything would be in his hands. To make everyone bow at his feet. The power to truly rule the world. Although he didn't know how this power would manifest, he was confident. Once he ascended to heaven, that power would surely descend upon him, descend upon his stand. The perfect ending and then surpass all existence. Gilles de Rais. Yes, my lord Dio. Gilles de Rais stepped forward with a smile. Get ready to move. Let's shake this world even more. Let's choose the location there. Dio said, tossing the map aside, and that place was the Nile River. 237, Kota Mine Kire. Is it over? In a restaurant in Egypt, Kazuya, having breakfast, watched Alucard, dressed in a red coat, entered. Did you win? No, he escaped. Alucard sat down across from his master, crossing his hands in front of his chin. Indeed, they are heroic spirits, they are servants. They are indeed different from ordinary humans. They have the value of being killed. HMPH. Ha ha ha. There were several times during the battle when I wanted to unleash all my combat power, unleash all my attacks. But at that time, I was not far from defeat, right? Indeed, that's right. Others may not say it, but that king, Gilgamesh, will definitely not give up this opportunity. Kazuya heard the voice that sounded exactly like Alucard's and turned his head slowly. Looking at the priest who had just entered from the door, Kazuya's mouth twitched slightly, This is really a coincidence. That's right. Alucard said with a smile on his face, the Holy Church, executors, and then, Iscariot? Alucard mocked and said, Iscariot. Iscariot. So, are you carrying the unfinished battle from before, instead of Anderson, to kill me? No, I have no intention of doing that. I am also searching for my own path. The man, Kotomine Kirei, walked in and looked at the one who ignored all the customers in the store, raising a white gun in his hand and aiming it at his own forehead. The man said, What, do you want to fight? You should know that I am also an executor. Before you kill me, I can use a command spell to summon that Gilgamesh over. Or, is your idea just to consume one of my command spells? This is annoying. Alucard put away his gun and said with a smile, What, that voice is the same as mine. It's too boring to listen to. I also wanted to say that. Kotomine Kirei walked over. Originally, I just went out for breakfast, but unexpectedly encountered such a thing, making me feel extremely unpleasant. Oh, unpleasant? Kazuya swallowed the food in his mouth and said, Unpleasant? So, does that mean you already know what pleasantness is? What, destruction? Despair? Kurikawa Kazuya. Kotomine Kirei did not answer but continued, You are now officially servants master of the black faction like me, right? Then, let me give you some advice. The Holy Grail War is about to end, and the Holy Church has reached an agreement with the Mages Association. The final battle is coming. However, before that, we will first clean up the remaining servants, such as you, such as those dead apostles. Now is the time to join our Holy Church. Otherwise, the only thing you will face in the future is death. Kazuya put down his spoons and pondered for a moment. Indeed, now Alucard and I don't have decisive combat power. If we continue like this, we may lose, or even die. Yes, and if you join us now, you might even get the right to make a wish with the Holy Grail. Oh, Kazuya smiled. What about you? What is your wish? You have been chosen by the Holy Grail for the second time, right? No wish? No ideals? Are you kidding me? This matter has nothing to do with you. What about your answer? Join? Refuse? Alucard, what do you think? It doesn't matter, I don't care. Alucard laughed lowly. You're my master, let you decide on such things. I just need to bite the enemy like a dog in battle and devour the enemy completely. You really hate yourself. Kazuya sighed slightly, looking at Kotomine Kirei with some interest. Indeed. Not bad. Even if it is a pretended join, when you clean up, you won't treat me as your target, is that right? Correct. That's great. Moreover, in this way, the possibility of getting the Holy Grail will greatly increase. What about your answer? Kotomine Kirei said. Facing such benefits, no one could refuse. Well, I refuse. What, I, Kurikawa Kazuya, most like to say, no, to those who think they are right. Holy Grail? What does that have to do with me asterisk? In other words, you refuse? Kotomine Kirei was silent for 2 seconds and said. That's right, ha ha, ha ha ha. Alucard laughed as if he couldn't catch his breath. The eyes of the people around who were having breakfast had already gathered, not understanding what these foreigners were talking about and what they were doing. That's right. That's how it is, that's my master. In that case, the negotiation has failed. Kotomine Kirei said, Be careful. Tonight you will become our enemies, or do you still have the confidence to win in such a situation? Who gave you that confidence? Alucard? Or some other hidden cards? Who knows? Finishing the breakfast, drinking a sip of tea, Kazuya looked at Kotomine Kirei and said to Alucard beside him, Alucard, I plan to make an anime adaptation of Hellsing, is it okay? No problem. So? Kazuya pointed to Kotomine Kirei who was about to leave and said, Let him do the voice acting for you. Don't you think his voice is exactly the same? If you think you can persuade this executor. Alucard smiled, full of interest. Hearing this answer, Kazuya said to Kotomine Kirei, How about it? What do you think of my proposal? The price is negotiable, of course. Oh, Kotomine Kirei, who was buying breakfast, turned his head and said, Is it time for the second round at midnight? Yes, that's right, just like selling Mapo tofu in a certain world, the second round of assassinations by executors. I refuse. Kotomine Kirei shook his head and said, Give this topic back to you. I've already have one person here who you know doing the second round. Emiya Kiritsugu. I will consider it. Kotomine Kirei turned around and said without looking back. What about you? Aren't you considering it? No, I have not agreed to that proposal. and the possibility of agreeing is unlikely. For the time being, it's fine. In the midst of this war, let me opt out of joining, after all. I am just a witness. 238, Third Night. Martha slowly opened her eyes, looking at the sunlight shining through the dusk and exhaling a sigh. I'm alive after a good night's sleep. I feel so much better. My whole body feels relaxed. The injuries from the battle with Alucard had completely healed. Although Alucard's attacks were accompanied by curses, which generally couldn't be directly healed, the curses were not overly powerful, and they could be removed with a simple purification. Afterwards, some healing would probably do her good. She had used it before going to sleep, and when she woke up, she was completely healed. She unwrapped all the bandages from her body. Martha, who had been wrapped up like a mummy, breathed a sigh of relief. Very well, strength restored. It's okay even if we go on a rampage all night, but first, let's check on Jojo. She hadn't finished watching Jojo. If they hadn't caused a disturbance last night, she would have definitely finished watching it before going out. Feeling better, Saber? Ishizaki Rito looked at Siegfried with concern. The injuries have completely healed. Also, I'm sorry, Master, I failed again, Siegfried said somewhat apologetically. No, it's okay. Ishizaki Rito sat down and breathed a sigh of relief. Do you know the mystery of this world are said to be fading away? I know a little. Siegfried nodded. Is this related to Master's wish? Discovered, huh? Ishizaki Rito smiled bitterly. During the last Holy Grail War. My friend died, I'm sorry. No, it's okay. You don't have to keep apologizing. Ishizaki Rito looked at this humble hero, not knowing what to say. He didn't expect the hero Siegfried to be like this, but, well, it felt good. My friend. How should I put it? Was someone who yearned too much for mystery. It's been a long time, searching for mystery everywhere. He even fell into a hunter's trap once, almost breaking his leg, but he still didn't stop. After a pause, Ishizaki Rito continued, later, during the last Holy Grail War, he got involved and was killed. I still don't know who killed him, and is that killer still alive? Did he die in that Holy Grail War? Or did he survive until now? I don't know. So, what is your wish? It coincides with the Holy Church's intentions. I want to destroy the Holy Grail. Put an end to the mystery of this world. Let this world continue in its ordinary state. After that, I can go to work, read manga, and live a peaceful life. Isn't that nice? Siegfried was somewhat surprised. Do you know what this means? I know, Ishizaki Rito nodded. The people from the church told me, most of the resources in this world are actually related to the ley line. If the ley line disappears, those resources will also disappear, and there won't be any more regeneration. In that case, relying solely on the resources on Earth, I don't know how long humanity can survive. But, it's probably not far from the destined disappearance. That should be the end of humanity. Even so, I want to destroy the Holy Grail and put an end to the Mages Association's idea of continuing the ley line. Ishizaki Rito said firmly, then sighed. It's quite selfish, isn't it, because of personal desires and all? Well, I'm sorry, but, it's indeed quite selfish. Haha. A bit too straightforward, huh? Sorry, but, let's believe in humanity, believe that. Even if the ley line disappears, humanity can still survive. Siegfried, will become your sword and clear obstacles in front of you. Thank you. If I knew I'd get this kind of card, I was supposed to organize the Holy Grail War in London. Bartholomew Lorelei gazed at the command spell on the back of her hand, and the 3 command spells had already turned into one. Next to him was Matu Caria, lying there. Is it okay? Caria, who had put away his hand, said. He had already handed over his command spell, leaving only this magic crest. I've already said it's fine. Bartholomew Lorelei said without hesitation. In reality, she had no idea where Tasaka Sakura was right now, what she was doing. Naturally, she had no reason to pay attention to the people outside the stage of their story. She was only interested in the stories and not the people involved. So, she only roughly knew about the Tasaka family. Everything else was unknown. However, she would leave this matter to her subordinates to investigate. Transplanting magic crests wasn't difficult. Conveniently, among her squad, there were highly skilled tuners. Transplanting Caria's magic crest was a simple task. That's good. Caria breathed a sigh of relief. The next moment, he felt a severe pain in his chest, and the rejection from the magic crest occurred again. Herman. Watching Karia's situation, Bartholomew Lorelei said casually. The next moment, music was heard. With this music, Karia felt the pain lessening, the pain gradually disappearing. Yes, this is a tuner. Well, since you've handed over the command spell, I'll give you some treatment. Although it's not something essential. Bartholomew Lorelei said, somewhat conflicted, because she didn't know how to face Karia with a relatively friendly or stern attitude. The magic crest on him was undoubtedly advanced. But, how many generations had it been passed down? She didn't know. The only thing she knew was that the information about this had been taken to the grave. So, she didn't know whether to treat him with a relatively friendly or stern expression. However, in any case, after this Holy Grail war, he, who had lost the magic crest, should be just an ordinary person. Moreover, it was a magic crest of at least 3rd or 4th rank, not too low level. Report. At this moment, a voice came. What's wrong? It's not time to start the planned battle yet, right? Yes. But, the clone squads rushing in said, there's an abnormal magical energy gathering above the Nile River. Most likely, Caster Giles de Rais has started summoning sea demons. 239, Plan unveiled Nile River. At this point, it was already a considerable distance from several people. The dead apostle caught one person after another from nearby, tied them up, and threw them onto the banks of the Nile River. The number kept increasing. Meanwhile, in the center of the river, Giles de Rais was muttering, summoning that monstrous sea demons. Come out, come out. Colin Kidd looked into the distance, summoning with a laugh. In Fate Zero, that sea demons only ate one person, and its body significantly enlarged, with numerous additional eyes, becoming even more grotesque. So, what if it devoured over 1,000 people? How much larger would it become? How much more powerful? Would it just turn the city named Cairo behind it into ruins? Unknown, but it was something to look forward to. Dio closed the book and looked through the gaps in the curtains, watching the fading light outside, saying, after all, the Holy Church and the Mages Association have joined forces. So, whoever we face next is already clear. It's definitely me, Dio. In that case, there's no reason to sit back. Let's take action and attract their attention. Just summoning the sea demon in front of us is not enough. It's too weak. This time, we need to summon something stronger, something even more terrifying. Anyway, no matter how strong the summoned creature was, it didn't matter. Even if it summoned a monster capable of killing Gilgamesh and Ozymandias, it didn't matter. Anyway, by tomorrow, this world would be in his hands. No matter what kind of monster it was just a pet. Dio was confident in this. This feeling, after finishing breakfast and returning to continue drawing manga. Kazuya saw through the gap in the curtain a gradually dimming light and felt an unusual aura emanating from the distance. Magical energy was gathering, and the air was distorting into a strange form. At the same time, the things that gradually dissipated around were like a dissipating bounded field. The bounded field was probably used to hide the aura and suppress magical fluctuations. Now, these things had disappeared, not because they were destroyed by a powerful attack or found and destroyed by the nodes. It could easily be seen that the person who set up the boundary had lifted it. What does this mean? In the eyes of the person who set up the bounded field was no longer needed. What does removing the bounded field mean? It's simple. They want to attract curious people and then devour them. In the shadow nearby, a blood-red light slowly appeared, and Alucard walked out wearing a blood-red coat. Did you feel it, my master? Yeah, I see it. Kazuya nodded. It seems that tonight will be another sleepless night. Do you have any idea what they're up to? This is simple. Alucard extended her hand and flipped it. Didn't the Kirei Kotomine say it this morning? They will temporarily join forces with the Mages Association to eliminate all their enemies except us. In other words, they noticed it, the other side. So they abandoned this caster, let him delay the time, and planned something themselves. Kazuya looked at the increasingly rich aura in the distance and could see servants rushing over there. What should we do? Alucard's tone was, as always, filled with a smile. Just go and take a look. No need to intervene. Kazuya picked up all his weapon and put on his coat. Oh, are you going too? Yeah, that's right. This time, I want to go too. It's better to see that monster with my own eyes. That kind of monster. the Mages Association and the Holy Church will definitely take action. In any case, no matter how they acted behind the scenes in the Mages Association and the Holy Church, on the surface, they represented one side of the world order. It was impossible for them to sit back and watch such a monster destroy such a big city. Moreover, it wouldn't be easy to explain to the people of the world at that time. How to explain it? A meteor fell and wiped out Cairo. For a while, Kazuya could only think of such an explanation. After all, they couldn't say that someone threw a nuclear bomb at Cairo or leaked nuclear radiation. Who knew if Cairo had nuclear facilities? Anyway, they didn't know. Wearing his own hat, covering his face slightly, since Kirei Kotomine had already discovered him, he didn't expect to hide well. Anyway, there were some things that had to be done formally. As long as there was a form, he could step down a step for others, and at a critical moment, he could play a role. Alright, it's not too far from here. Let's go over. Yes, my master. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Arrows flew from a distance and pinned 2 dead apostles to the ground. However, the arrows aimed at Castor in the lake were all blocked by numerous small sea demons. Using the bodies of the sea demons to deflect the arrows, they slightly deviated and brushed past Castor's body. It seems they've arrived. Guests. Castor protruded a large fish-like eyeball and smiled. Well, I've already finished here. A sea demon reached out and entwined around him. Please enjoy it, everyone, enjoy it to the fullest, this death and decadence carnival hosted by the untalented. Everyone gather around, and enjoy it thoroughly. This will be dedicated to Lord Dio's unique death carnival. Boom! In an instant, a huge sea demon rose from the Nile River. Covering the vast surface of the river, he just said, Dio? Who is that? Arash, connected with his own master, asked in confusion. Dio? Could it be Dio? Just as she saw Dio being smashed to pieces by Jotaro, Martha looked out and watched the huge sea demon. Dio? Isn't he a character from the anime? Has he been summoned too? Indeed, she could recognize the true name of that servant as soon as she saw it. However, she didn't see it, but if it really is like this. Great, she just finished watching Jojo and changed her view of herself. A woman's romance isn't just aura. It also needs someone stand for her. The next moment, Martha, ready to rush out, stopped and looked towards the sky. Is this a revelation? 240, for Lord Dio. That Castor guy. Watching the gigantic sea demon in the distance, whose contours were now clearly visible, Dio complained. He's out of his mind, revealing my true name so quickly. I've been seen that I bizarre adventures in this world. In those adventures, he had almost showcased all of his abilities. So, he had been avoiding the exposure of his true identity, preventing others from seeing him and uttering his name. But this Castor had outright revealed his name. Well, forget it. Tomorrow is the day I ascend to heaven. Before that, let the exposure happen. Anyway, that Castor probably wouldn't survive the night. And after that, he would reveal himself. As long as the sea demon was strong enough, consuming the energy of those servants, it didn't matter if he got exposed. So, Dio's noble phantasm is time stop. Able to stop time for 5 or even 9 seconds. This is really troublesome, Arash said with some emotion. If he were attacked without any preparation for 5 to 9 seconds, he would probably be a corpse by then. The next moment, he forcefully drew his bow and aimed at the colossal sea demon in the sea. But I am Archer, sorry, but I won't engage in close combat. Swish! In an instant. Arrows shot out rapidly. This arrow was Arash's full-powered shot. The arrow surpassed the wind, exceeded the sound. A booming sound echoed in the air. It was a sonic boom. The arrow almost instantly closed the distance of several kilometers and pierced the sea demon. It went straight through its chest, making about 1/4 to 1/3 of its flesh disappear. Sorry, I didn't intend to let you come ashore. Let me finish you off in one go, Arash said. Pulling his bowstring again, aligning 3 arrows side by side. Next, these 3 arrows would leave 3 large holes on the sea demon summoned by Castor upper, middle, and lower. Work, What's this? The next moment, Arash's expression changed, and he chuckled bitterly. This is a bit troublesome. What's wrong, Archer? His master asked through their connection. Ah, it's getting bigger. Increasingly larger that was. The sea demon was devouring people. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha, just like this. Come, feast, feast. 10 people, 100 people. All the hundreds of people initially captured on the shore were devoured without a single one left. Not only that, several dead apostles hit by Arash's arrows were also devoured alongside eyes, tentacles, armor. The grotesque sea demon became several times larger than before, filled with numerous eyes staring around. Countless tentacles had climbed onto the land from the center of the river. Moreover, armor like hard shells began to appear on the sea demon's body. Even Arash's arrows couldn't easily pierce its body. Afterward, the sea demon came ashore. It once again had food and to target the people who sensed the commotion and came over. 1, 2. The shore was filled with people. At that moment, several gigantic tentacles emerged from the Nile River. Swish arrows from a distance pierced through the tentacles, and every tentacle attempting to come up was punctured without exception. At that moment several servants, magus, and executors also rushed over. You, open the drive-out barrier. You, subtly suggest to those who have already come in. You 4, start setting up large illusions to conceal the magical fluctuations in this direction. Bartholomew Lorelei gave orderly commands. Her squads, under her command, began executing the orders with caution. Though they encountered such a sea demon for the first time, it didn't make them panic. They had already fought against dead apostles in places like the city center more than once or twice. How to deal with people approaching was clear enough. They were magus, but they were also a military force. One of the strongest combat units of the clock tower. So, this extremely dire situation gradually came under control. Not bad, Bartholomew. Faced with such a situation, you haven't made any mistakes, Ambrose Conant said emotionlessly, his severed limbs already regenerated. You guys are good too. Should I say it's thanks to the Iscariot? Bartholomew Lorelei looked at the current situation. She mocked, see, all because you Iscariot, Alucard came after us. However, even so, the executors and magus had their own capabilities. With the help of the executors and the interventions from the magus, they managed to keep the sea demon from coming ashore, trapping it firmly in the Nile River. But this wasn't enough, it wasn't sufficient, merely this won't do. We must find its core. Here, Bartholomew Lorelei, among others, was looking for an opportunity to defeat the sea demon. In the distance, the dead apostles were also looking for an opportunity. This won't work. If this continues, Castor won't last long and Dio's intended role won't be fulfilled. What should we do? Damn the accursed Mages Association. I'll go at this moment, a dead apostle stepped forward. If I let the sea demon cat me, it should provide even more powerful energy, making it even stronger. In an instant the scene fell silent for a moment. But it was only for a moment. Count me in, I'm going too. For Lord Dio? Well then, how about this? Colin Kidd grinned and said, let's attack the magus and the church people, either be eaten by the sea demon after we die, or kill them all, and then be eaten by the sea demon. Those executors and magus should be delicious too, right? Agreed. High-ranking dead apostle Isaac Barnes nodded. Let's do that. Hold on, you can't go. Colin stopped Isaac Barnes. You're a high-ranking dead apostle. Tomorrow, you still need to help Lord Dio resist the enemy servants. Today, we'll handle it. For more thrilling fanfiction stories like this, check out my channel Fanfic Audiobook. Dive into epic adventures, mysterious realms, and legendary journeys brought to life through immersive storytelling. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing audiobooks.